You're standing before the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, a grand Victorian Gothic building that has nurtured artistic vision since 1805. This is America's oldest art museum and school, and its commitment to Black artists runs deep. Within these ornate walls, you'll find powerful works by contemporary masters like K&D Wiley, whose regal portraits reimagine classical painting, Nick Cave's transformative sound suits, and Mickalene Thomas's bold, rhinestone-studded compositions. As you look up at the building's intricate facade, consider how this institution has evolved from its 19th-century origins to become a vital platform for voices that challenge and expand our understanding of American art. The conversation between past and present happens in every gallery. You're standing near City Hall, where Philadelphia's commitment to public art takes powerful form. Just south of you stands the monument to Octavius Cato, the 19th-century educator and civil rights activist whose fight for equality cost him his life. Nearby, the Tuskegee Airmen Memorial honors those who broke barriers in the skies above a segregated nation. Look around and you'll also find traces of Keith Haring's vibrant murals, their bold lines and dancing figures bringing a different kind of energy to these streets. Each work claims space in the civic landscape, insisting that Black history and achievement belong at the heart of the city. Notice how the afternoon light plays across these surfaces, animating bronze and paint alike. You're standing outside the Brandywine Workshop, a printmaking studio that has anchored Philadelphia's artistic life since 1972. This unassuming Sansom Street address has hosted some of the most significant Black artists of our time, including Elizabeth Catlett, whose powerful lithographs and prints explored themes of dignity, resistance, and maternal strength. The workshop was founded on a simple but radical premise, that fine art printmaking should be accessible to artists of color who had been largely excluded from this tradition. Look up at the windows above you. Behind them, artists have worked shoulder to shoulder with master printers, translating vision into ink and paper. The collaborative spirit here transformed printmaking from an exclusive craft into a tool for cultural expression and social commentary. You're standing before the African American Museum in Philadelphia, the first institution of its kind built by a major American city. Since 1976, these walls have held stories of resilience, creativity, and cultural memory spanning 3 continents. Inside, you'll find the remarkable CCH Pounder collection, alongside works that trace the African diaspora's artistic journey from ancestral roots through contemporary expression. As you approach the entrance, notice the building's distinctive geometric form, a deliberate architectural statement about presence and permanence. The galleries within preserve not just artifacts, but lived experiences, each piece a testament to voices that shaped this nation's cultural landscape. This morning light catches the facade just as it has for nearly 5 decades of bearing witness. You're standing before the Barnes Foundation, where one of the world's most extraordinary art collections awaits. Albert Barnes assembled these galleries with a radical vision, placing African masks alongside European masters, insisting on their equal artistic merit decades before the mainstream art world caught up. As you enter, notice how the galleries honor his original arrangements, where a Fang mask might hang near a Cézanne, each illuminating the other. Today, works by contemporary artists like Mickalene Thomas continue this conversation, her bold, rhinestone-encrusted portraits claiming space in a collection that has always challenged how we see and value art. The Barnes never separated African creativity into ethnography. Here, it was always simply art. You're standing in a neighborhood where art and activism have long walked hand in hand. The murals surrounding you are part of Philadelphia's Mural Arts program, which has transformed countless walls into canvases of community memory and pride. Here, the Black Be Beautiful mural speaks to the affirmations that sustained generations, while nearby tributes to Cecil B. Moore honor the civil rights leader who fought to desegregate Girard College just blocks from here in the 1960s. As you take in these works, notice how the faces look back at you with dignity and resolve. These aren't just decorations. They're declarations painted large enough that a neighborhood, a city, cannot look away. You're standing before one of the nation's great encyclopedic museums, though today you're here for something more specific. Inside these neoclassical walls, Time Is Always Now gathers 60 works by 28 artists, tracing the arc of Black artistic expression across generations. The exhibition takes its title from a profound assertion that the creative vision of Black artists exists outside linear time, in constant dialogue across eras. As you approach the entrance, notice how the building's classical symmetry gives way to something far more dynamic within. The voices you'll encounter here speak across decades, from the Harlem Renaissance forward, each work insisting on its own present tense. You're standing before October Gallery, a vital space in Philadelphia's contemporary Black art landscape. Here at 2101 North Front Street, emerging artists work across painting, sculpture, photography, and mixed media, pushing boundaries and claiming new territory in the art world. The gallery takes its mission seriously, to amplify voices that have historically been marginalized in mainstream institutions. As you look at the storefront, imagine the creative conversations happening inside, the works in progress, the dialogue between tradition and innovation. This isn't a museum preserving the past, it's a working studio and exhibition space where Philadelphia's next generation of Black artists are shaping the visual culture of tomorrow. The neighborhood itself has long been home to makers and creators, and October Gallery continues that legacy. You're standing before Woodmere Art Museum, housed in a 19th-century stone mansion that has watched over Germantown Avenue for generations. As evening settles around you, consider what awaits inside. The We Speak exhibit, a remarkable gathering of 70 works spanning 5 decades of Black artistic expression, from the 1920s through the 1970s. These pieces chart a profound journey through joy, struggle, and resilience. Notice the building's solid Victorian presence, its warm stone now holding stories far beyond its original purpose. Within these walls, artists speak across time, their voices preserved in paint, sculpture, and print, offering testament to creativity that flourished even in the face of profound challenge. You've arrived at Moody Jones Gallery, a space dedicated to amplifying the voices of new and emerging Black artists. As evening settles in, this is where discovery happens, where unfamiliar names become ones you'll remember, where fresh perspectives challenge and inspire. The gallery serves as both showcase and incubator, offering artists early in their careers the kind of visibility that can transform a practice. Take a moment to notice the light through the windows at this hour, that golden quality that seems to soften everything it touches. Inside, you'll find work that speaks to this moment while drawing on deep wells of history and experience. It's a fitting close to your second day. You're standing before the Freedom Theatre, a cornerstone of Black performing arts that has shaped Philadelphia's cultural landscape since 1966. Founded by John Allen Jr. during the height of the Civil Rights Movement, this institution emerged from a vision of theater as liberation, as a space where African American stories could be told with authenticity and power. The building itself has witnessed generations of artists honing their craft, from local youth discovering their voices to professionals who've gone on to national stages. Notice the marquee above you. It's announced countless productions that have challenged, celebrated, and transformed audiences. This theatre remains a living testament to the belief that art and freedom are inseparable, that performance can be both mirror and catalyst for change. You're standing on Philadanco Way, named for the Philadelphia Dance Company that has called this neighborhood home since 1970. Founded by Joan Myers Brown, Philadanco became one of the nation's most celebrated contemporary dance companies, training generations of Black dancers and bringing African American movement traditions to stages worldwide. The company's work draws from jazz, modern, and classical forms, creating something distinctly its own. Look up at the building before you and imagine the countless hours of rehearsal within, the rhythm of feet on studio floors, the discipline and artistry that have radiated from this modest street corner across the global dance world for more than half a century. You're standing before the Philadelphia Clef Club of Jazz and Performing Arts, an institution that has nurtured Black musical excellence for generations. Founded in 1966, the Clef Club emerged during a pivotal moment in the city's cultural history, providing a dedicated space where jazz traditions could be preserved and passed forward. This building has witnessed countless young musicians discovering their voices, seasoned players sharing hard-won knowledge, and audiences experiencing the living art of improvisation. Listen for a moment to the ambient sounds around you, then imagine them replaced by the warm-up scales of a saxophone, the walking bass line of an upright, the shimmer of brushes on a snare drum. The music created here connects directly to Philadelphia's deep jazz lineage, from Coltrane to Grubbs, keeping that flame burning bright. You're standing before the former home of Marian Anderson, the contralto whose voice moved nations. From this South Philadelphia row house, Anderson traveled the world, breaking barriers that seemed unbreakable. When the Daughters of the American Revolution barred her from Constitution Hall in 1939, Eleanor Roosevelt arranged for her to sing at the Lincoln Memorial instead. 75,000 people gathered to hear her. Notice the modest scale of this building. It speaks to Anderson's grounded character, even as she performed for kings and presidents. She returned here between tours, maintaining ties to the neighborhood that shaped her. The house now preserves her story, reminding us that transformative artistry often begins in the most ordinary places. You're standing before the former home of Henry Ossawa Tanner, one of America's most accomplished painters of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Born in Pittsburgh in 1859, Tanner came of age in Philadelphia, where his father served as a bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. This neighborhood shaped the young artist before he left to study at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts under Thomas Eakins. Tanner would eventually settle in Paris, where his work earned international acclaim, but his Philadelphia roots remained foundational. As you look at this modest row house, imagine the determination it took for a black artist to pursue his vision in an era of profound segregation, carrying the quiet strength of this street with him across the Atlantic. You're standing before the childhood home of Paul Robeson, whose voice once filled concert halls across continents and whose courage challenged empires. Born here in 1898, Robeson would become one of the 20th century's most remarkable figures, an All-American athlete, celebrated actor, and bass baritone whose artistry was inseparable from his activism. This modest row house witnessed the early years of a man who refused to separate culture from justice, who saw his performances of spirituals and folk songs as acts of solidarity with working people everywhere. Notice the quiet dignity of this block, so far removed from the international stages where Robeson sang, yet forever the foundation of his uncompromising vision. His legacy lives in every artist who believes their work must serve something larger than fame. You're standing before the Colored Girls Museum, a singular institution dedicated to the narratives and creative expressions of black girls and women. Founded in this Germantown neighborhood, the museum transforms ordinary objects into vessels of memory and meaning. Household items, textiles, and personal artifacts become part of a living archive that honors experiences often overlooked by traditional institutions. As you look at the building, consider how museums can exist beyond marble halls. Here, everyday stories are elevated to their rightful place in our cultural landscape. The work happening inside these walls expands our understanding of who gets remembered, whose creativity matters, and how communities preserve their own histories on their own terms. You're standing before the Dell Music Center, a cherished outdoor amphitheater that has drawn Philadelphia's black community to Fairmount Park since 1976. Built into this natural hillside, the venue became a vital stage for gospel, jazz, R&B, and soul, hosting legends like Patti LaBelle and the O'Jays under summer skies. The Dell emerged during an era when black artists and audiences sought spaces that honored their cultural expression without compromise. Take a moment to imagine the hillside filled with families on blankets, the evening air carrying music across the grass, and performers commanding this open-air stage. Though the venue has faced challenges over the decades, it remains a testament to Philadelphia's determination to create gathering places where black artistry could flourish on its own terms.